Hello and welcome to the Against the Fence podcast. Today's guest is Amy Scully. I'm aware that there's probably going to be a lot of people that listen to this or watch this wherever they are at the moment that don't particularly know who you are. So I want to give you the opportunity to kind of open up the floor to an introduction to you.
Cool, sounds good. Well, my name's Amy Scully. I'm an amateur MMA fighter fighting out of Dublin, Ireland. And recently I just became the first Irish two-time world champion out of the IMMAF. So that's a little intro into me. And yeah, that's me.
I love that. We'll deep dive into it a little bit more later with some of the questions I got lined up. But I want to start off. It's always good to understand because I feel like when I'm at work and I'm trying to talk to people about MMA, no one that I speak to at work really has that kind of same kind of passion that I have. So here's the thing: every MMA fighter's journey starts somewhere. For some that I've spoken to, it's a Bruce Lee movie that they got as a old VHS style uh, cassette. For others, it's a sibling who refused to let them have a TV remote, and they've just absolutely lamped them. What was the spark for you? What got you into MMA?
It was definitely probably scenario two, more so. What's it called? My brother had started doing MMA when he was about 12, and I wasn't really good at any other sports, and my mom wanted me to keep fit, so she put me into jiu-jitsu when I was 10, and I fell in love with the sport, kept going with it, and then eventually after COVID, then I wanted to give MMA a crack because my brother was doing it years, and I was doing good well in jiu-jitsu, so I thought I may as well. The best way to expand for a career out of it is to do MMA. So I started training SBG then, and the rest is history. So it was more just something that my mom happened to throw me into, and I fell in love with.
Yeah, I was going to say when I was doing my research into you, I was looking at your Instagram. If you go right down, there's some pictures of you in your gi training, and it's kind of striking how young you look. How old were you when you started?
I was about 10, 10 or 11. I was still in primary school, so I'd say around 10.
Okay, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's scared of you because you seem to absolutely love it. Um, you've faced some tough competitors at the IMMAF World Championships, including a rematch that flipped the script. Let's set the scene. You've got the Polish standout Julia Glaz across the cage, a fighter who beat you earlier in the year. When the ref says fight, what's going through your mind in that moment?
If I'm gonna be completely honest, just like I'm about to smash her head in, like that was what I was thinking. Like I was not giving her a second. Like I think as soon as we touched gloves, I just immediately took the space and just went into it. To be fair, I was pretty emotional, probably the most emotional that I've fought, which was a blessing and a curse. But I was ready just for a war straight away because in the first fight, she kind of set the pace immediately, and I was like, that's not happening this time. I'm setting the pace, and I'm gonna show that I'm the better fighter.
Did you think coming into it that kind of matchup was inevitable? Did you think it was going to go that way when you came
Yeah,
into this?
100%. Like maybe like I don't know. Like I always had the feeling that it was gonna be me and her in the final. Like I just think like she's the toughest opponent. That even in that rematch, like she was definitely the toughest fight that I had out of the three fights. So I knew it was gonna be us in the final. Like I just had a gut feeling from before I even went over there that that's how it was gonna end.
And how did that factor into you training, like leading up to it? Obviously, because you fight quite a diverse set of people in a competition like that.
To be honest, like even knowing that I'd probably have the rematch, like of course after my loss, like a lot of the couple weeks like after that loss was focusing on the mistakes that I could fix. But once I fix those mistakes, like usually my training is just to get me better everywhere. So it doesn't matter who I fight. If they're a jiu-jitsu fighter, my jiu-jitsu will be better. If they're a striker, my striking will be better, or at least my jiu-jitsu and wrestling will be good enough that I'll get them to the ground. So it doesn't matter who I'm fighting in the cage. I just want to make sure that I'm the best everywhere.
Yeah, I've got to say as well, it does it strike. I watched a few of your other. There was something on YouTube where I watched and you were your ground game seems to be your strength, and it seems to be like where you're quite passionate. Um, how did kind of I guess what's the way of putting it? Is that what you always look to do because you're so confident in that area, or is it just it's see where it goes?
To be honest, like it's the most enjoyable part for me. Like I love jiu-jitsu and I love, the ground game. And like if you'd watched my fights, I also love ground and pound, like just being able to like smack people, and you know what I mean, be able to have control and just be able to kind of, take advantage of that. So for me, like I do like striking, it's fun, but jiu-jitsu and being on the ground is way more enjoyable for me in the fight, and it's where I'm best, so it works well for me.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to win an IMMF gold once, but to do it twice takes it to a whole different level of mental game. When you think back to your training camps leading up to the championship, what was the hardest moment, and then how did you push through that?
I'd say I feel like all of it's just hard, like just keeping consistent with it. Like, um, it's just like after the loss, it was obviously difficult, and like I'm kind of always in training camp, so I'd say like just when I got back from Thailand training over there, just trying to keep consistent because even when I got back from that, it was still a couple months before I actually went to do the world. So it was almost like I'd done a really tough training camp, got home, didn't have any fight or anything to kind of prove for it, and then had to kind of just keep grinding at the same intensity for another couple months, which was tough, like just keeping up the intensity. But I'd say all of it's tough. Like, I put myself through hell. The sprints are definitely the worst thing. I haven't got back to a sprint session yet, and like they're miserable. So that's probably one of the toughest things. Just the mental resilience to get through it.
Yeah. I see when you were out in Thailand, you met some quite famous UFC fighters. I think you've got a picture with Molly McCann and stuff like that, right? Who's
Yeah.
kind of the best personality that you've learnt from whilst you've been out there?
I'd say even like the first time I met Shauna Bannon was actually out in Thailand, which is kind of mad because, she doesn't live that far from me. Like we're both living in Dublin, but she's probably one of the best people that I met because we've stayed in touch and trained together a bit. So, and she's lovely. Like she supported me loads, even coming up to the IMMAF. So, definitely her.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that story. We know fighters spend, as you were saying, you're like always in a training camp and you spend so much time in the gym, but everyone needs to hit pause sometimes. When you're not in fight camp or creating content, what's something you love doing that the fans might not guess about you?
I love playing video games. Like I love playing like games like Overwatch and even just more not well, I guess not chill games, but the kind of like not online games like The Witcher and Skyrim and stuff like that. Those type of games where you can kind of just sink hours and hours into it. So that's something I like, and I also like to draw as well, but I'm not that good at it. But it's just something I do for fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Also, I'd love to see some of your drawings. My brother's like massive into drawing, and he's really really good at it. I'm absolutely terrible. I can hardly even write without people being able to question what I've just written. So it's not my forte. I love the gaming part though, and it's a big part that I'm like really passionate about. And there's one game you mentioned there that I just want to touch on, just to talk about your experience playing the game, and that's The Witcher. It's my
Yeah.
favorite game of all time. I absolutely love it. I've 100%ed it with the expansion passes. I don't really know what the question is, but it's something that I just absolutely love.
Ah, it's great. It's an amazing game. Like even like I went back and I got it on the Switch and I played was The Witcher 3 again, and it was like I mean it's a handy having it so you can just kind of bring it around because usually had it on what was that, the Xbox. I think my brother had it. We played it together when I was younger, and then I got to go back then and play it again. So yeah, it's an amazing game.
When you're flying out, I guess are you taking the Switch with you, and you've got your Switch there, and you're playing games. That's like how you kill the time.
Yeah, that's it. Like I just found I find like whenever I'm going out to these IMAX, like I find like just one game that I can just kind of use to turn off my brain. So for the Worlds this year, I played Dave the Diver. One of my mates in the gym recommended it to me, and it's like simple game where you're just some guy that goes diving, you catch fish and you make sushi, but it's just something like fun that you can just kind of switch off and not have to be super like thinking about the fight all the time because your brain needs to switch off or else you're just going to be exhausted.
That's brilliant. I love that. Save the Diver. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah,
It sounds good.
it's good crack. It's actually
Um,
good crack. It was good fun.
because I've tried it. I've tried my hand at a couple of fishing games, but they never get me. But yeah, something like that might be a bit more. Is it like a No Man's Sky kind of vibe? I don't know if you've played that before.
No, it's not. It's like basically there's like three parts of the game. So there's a bit where you dive down and you have to go and find the fish, and you have like a harpoon and you have to like shoot them and catch them, and then you go up and there's like an evening time where you have to like cook sushi then with the fish that you've caught and stuff like that, and then serve it. So it's kind of like what's that Switch game where it's like all the chefs in the kitchen. You play, it's like a multiplayer game. It's like that mixed with kind of just like a little RPG type thing.
I think I know what you mean. It's like a cartoon style game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I know what you mean. Um,
It's gonna annoy me now that I can't think of the name, but I'll figure it out later.
yeah, I've got a picture of the front cover's the guy with a chef hat. He's got like a bit of a tash or something. I think it's like Go Cook or something. Is it? I don't know. I don't know.
Overcooked. That's it.
Ah, okay.
Overcooked. That's it. I remember it now.
I'm gonna check that game out and tell you what I think of it now.
Yeah,
Um, your Instagram, as we were talking about earlier, gives fans a kind of a behind the scenes look at your life. I mean, the amount of time that you've put into like putting out content whilst you were at the IMMAF championships was like really commendable. But I'm curious, if you could swap places with any other content creator or athlete for a day, who would it be and
yeah.
why?
Swap place them as in like their whole life, or just like the way they make content.
Their whole life, you can literally swap your places for a day.
Uh, Sean O'Malley, he's living the life. He has his Lamborghini. He's not really a content creator, but he does make his sketches and stuff like that. So I think that kind of counts. But I mean, he's living the life. He got his Lamborghini as his big house, and he's living life. And he's super popular online. So probably him. Yeah, I think so. That's what I want to get when I'm older.
Is he a big inspiration to you? Because one thing I think it'd be good to touch on is obviously you quite like going for like the quirky out there hairstyles, and obviously Sean O'Malley's known for that as well.
Yeah, like he's one of my favorite fighters, one of the most interesting ones. Even though like his fighting style is not really similar to mine. I actually did like
Yeah,
when him and Merab were fighting, I actually liked them both a lot, but I knew Merab was gonna win. But I really like Sean O'Malley the way he kind of just does his own thing, and he kind of just is himself. Like he's been himself since he first came into the UFC and stuff like that. So that's something that I like a lot about him.
your your slogan is, and you talk a lot about getting 1% better every day. That's a mantra
Yeah.
that's simple to say but hard to live by. Can you share a moment where that mindset really got tested?
Um. Like I guess like it kind of gets tested every day. Like as in when I'm like I get up at 5:30 in the morning, I go walk my dogs and I train, then I have my breakfast and I go and I train and like I do that and it's just there's a lot of days where I do wake up in the morning and I just say like I don't want to do this again. Or even on days where maybe something hasn't gone my way, I haven't been able to get to training, maybe it's raining, like I cycle to training, so that might stop me. And like just always finding something that I can do to kind of progress myself, even if it's just doing something small, like watching fights or like, I mean, just something mental. If it doesn't have to be physical every time, but it's just like I'm always trying to do something every day that's going to progress me to my goals.
Mm. I'm big about the whole kind of I don't know if you are as well, like law of attraction kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. I just lived through it. Yeah, I don't know. Like I just kind of that's just one thing I just live by, and that's it. Like I'm simple enough that that's just it. Like I don't know if everything's kind of set out or set in stone, but that's just
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Representing Ireland on an international stage is obviously no small feat, and one of the big success stories that come out just before you guys flew out there, I guess on your behalf, was obviously kind of supporting the whole all of you going out there financially. But what's the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself from competing under that kind of spotlight?
I was born for this. That this is what I'm meant to do. Like I just don't. There's nothing I enjoyed more than each day that I got to fight. Like there was one day between the semifinals and the finals that I had a break, and I was like, I just want to get in there. And like when every time I was walking, like that's what was going through my head every time. Like I'm born for this. I'm born for this. When I step in the cage and like look at my opponent in the eyes, I'm just like, sorry, but this is my time. I'm born for this. This is my moment. So that's probably something that like, especially competing on the big scale, like it was massive in Uzbekistan. Like the amount of people there, it's probably the biggest crowd I'll have until I'm way later into my pro career. Like it was insane. So just that I'm born for this, and this is what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Let's switch gears a bit. Imagine like Conor McGregor, obviously possibly the biggest name to ever come out of Ireland, has been featuring in films recently and stuff like that. But say you go that let's imagine you've gone the whole way.
Yeah.
You've become a 2 division champ, whatever it is that you kind of visualize in your head, and they're going to make a movie about Amy Scully. Who's playing you, and
Oh, I
what's
don't
the
know.
kind of training montage song? What are you thinking?
Um, for some reason, well, obviously not with the hair now, but for some reason, I don't know what the actor's name is. But people said that I look like Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. I haven't watched Game of Thrones, so I don't know what she's about. But I used to have like a bob cut hair, and I think she had that in the show or something like that. So maybe whoever plays her. And then my montage song. Well, my walkout song for my last fight was Applause by Lady Gaga. So I feel like maybe something like that going, and then, montage and then coming out to the walkout and stuff like that would be cool. But yeah, maybe Applause.
I love that. If you could have dinner with three fighters, past or present, who would they be
Yeah.
and what's on the menu?
Um, it's a good one. To be fair, I would love to have dinner probably with. Do they all have to like? Well, I guess they don't really all have to know each other and get on. But if I let me think, probably Connor because like I mean I just what I mean he's a legend. Like I also really like Demetrius Johnson, so maybe and he's funny as well. I like watching his podcast and stuff like that. So probably him, and then I think Meatball Molly as well. I think she'd be fun to have dinner with.
Okay. There's some very
Yeah.
different but big personalities. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know if they're all gonna get on if they're all on the same table, but maybe I'll go for dinner with each of them individually. But and what would be on the menu? Probably they'll all want very different things as well. Um, I think well, Thai food's my favorite food, so maybe just like a big old bunch of curries and stuff like that. But I do think this would be
Okay.
a recipe for disaster.
I, if I could be there to film it, I would be there to film it. That would be incredible. Um, I wanted to talk a bit about behind the scenes of your trip, just because it inspired me, and I know we touched on it slightly earlier offline. But walk me through that kind of day-to-day process, because at the same time as training and getting out there and having the fights and supporting your friends that were also out there, you were also producing content and putting out content. So
Yeah.
it'd be really interesting just to kind of give a glimpse, because a lot of people that kind of listen to this podcast or are fans of in like that small content creator scene that Against the Fence is in, all kind of collaborate, and it's always interesting just to learn a bit more about how other people are doing things.
Yeah, so usually like not that I have a plan about what I want to record for the day, but I always have certain things that like are kind of on the list. Like, for me it was like I was things I do every day. I checked my weight every day, ate my breakfast every day, then like some sort of shot of me going somewhere, you know what I mean? Just to show that like I'm kind of going around the place. And then of course on the days I was in the arena, making sure to get a couple shots of the arena and stuff like that. And also making sure just to kind of try not to make all the videos the same because on the days I wasn't fighting, it was more or less the same stuff again and again. So I was trying just to get clips maybe of me, I don't know, doing something funny or just going about, shadow boxing and stuff in the room. But usually like on day to day, I'll get up, get dressed and stuff like that. Then just make sure I'm consciously thinking, do a little video of this, even because most of them are just little clips and it's just one shot and then I go for it. So just getting clips of everything. I'm just being conscious that, I'm making the vlog at the same time so I don't forget because a couple times, where I'm just doing day-to-day vlogs back at home, it's like, oh, I've vlogged my breakfast, vlogged my first training session, then like something happens and I forget and I'm like, oh, now I can't make a video. So I just have to make sure I held myself accountable and making sure I was getting all the clips.
And then putting that all together, what did that look like for you?
Well, usually like on the days I wasn't fighting, I just in the evening after dinner I'd get home, go back to the apartment, and then I just put all the clips in to CapCut and like just sort of play through the whole thing, see what I've got, and kind of just chop and edit then to make about like a 30 to 45 second video because like I think usually anything longer than that like they don't really do as well. So try chop it down and then also try make sure it's not too short that I actually have time to get to say what I want to say and explain what I did in the day. So usually takes maybe like an hour or two then in the evening then just sitting down and then going through it. But I enjoy doing it, so it's a nice way to wind down in the evening when I was over there.
Yeah, I love that, and yeah, kudos to you because yeah, I can imagine having to juggle all that stuff like all at one time. So yeah, the drive is impressive. If
Thank
someone
you.
watching this right now is thinking about stepping into the gym for the first time, what's the one piece of advice you wish you'd heard when you'd started?
Um, Probably just like stick with it. Like, you're not always gonna feel like you're gonna fit in or that like sometimes gyms like may not feel welcoming, but it's you know what I mean like they are in the end. I don't know how I'd say it, but like when I first joined like SPG, I didn't really feel super welcomed. Like I just it's you're going to a new place, and for me at least, I always get really nervous when I'm joining a new gym. Like even when I first started training at Brew this year, like that's another gym that I'm training at for my jiu-jitsu. Like there's always a bit of nerves, but if you just stick with it, get through the first couple weeks, like you're gonna get to know people and like people are gonna start talking to you and you're gonna make lifelong friends. I bet like everyone in the gym, I'm all great mates with now. So you just have to kind of get through that rough stage of just kind of you're kind of new, you don't really know anybody, and you're just kind of there like, someone be my partner. So yeah, just get through that bit and just stick through it. Like I think if you can stay for over 6 months, then you're likely to become like a lifelong like participant in martial arts. So get through those 6 months and you'll be a badass for the rest of your life.
What's that dynamic like? Because obviously SBG now is so famous. What's that dynamic like when obviously because I mean you're local, so it's slightly different. But like
Yeah.
going somewhere like that where it's attracted to so many big personalities.
Yeah, I mean, like when I joined into the teens class. It is definitely interesting now being in the pro class. Like you see so many different people come in and out. Like I feel like apart from like obviously there's the main pros that fight out of the gym, but there's about half the class that like rotates basically every couple months because there's people coming in and out. So it's definitely interesting. Like it means that like there's like I don't feel like there's a super tight knit group. There's kind of mini groups of people that kind of train together a lot because there's loads of people in and out training in different gyms in different countries and stuff like that. But it's cool. It's been able to see. What I mean? You're like, oh, Johnny Walker's just, rocking up to the gym and stuff like that, and it's cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. I couldn't imagine that. I like as well that you say about the rotation. It allows you that opportunity, I suppose, to train with like some really different people consistently, and that surely that can only be good for you, right?
Yeah, that's it. Like it's handy enough, like getting different people, and then, like you said, like you just get you I mean, training with different people is the best way to get better. That's why I like going to places like Thailand and stuff to train because you're not gonna, if you're training with the same people all the time, you're only gonna get to, I mean, you're gonna level out with whoever you're training with and eventually not get any better. So you got to just keep mixing it up because then when if you learn something from someone else, you can do it on that. I mean, one of your main training partners at home, and then like kind of then you can keep leveling up.
What is next for you? Because obviously, if we look in terms of, I'm assuming that the end goal will be to be in the UFC at some point, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And obviously, you fight at atom weight. So what does it look like for you? Let's say over the next, I don't know, 2 3 years.
Well, I'm fighting 3 weeks time, I think, on EFC 14th of December, and that'll be at strawweight. Like I probably won't be I mean, I won't be actually a strawweight yet, but that's the weight class that it's at. Like I'm gonna try get a bit bigger, at least go up to strawweight for amateur. And like you never know, Dana said about possibly an atom weight in the UFC, but I'm gonna at least with my goals and stuff like that, like try get to strawweight and then see what the crack is. Because if they add an atom weight, I can always get smaller, but it's a bit harder to just like put on a couple kilos like of muscle. So just gonna try get a bit bigger, start fighting at strawweight amateur, and then go from there.
Okay. Right. Let's. We've absolutely flown through these, but that's fine. What about on the? I suppose. What about on the content creation side of it all? Because you've done a lot in terms of like you're progressing. You've got quite a good following now on like Instagram and stuff like that, and you're producing really good content. How do you vision that part of it going? Because it's become such a big part of and like social media. I mean, the UFC has been massive on pushing out clips and generating stuff like that, and it's something that you seem to have tuned into. And to be fair, it's something that you have a good creative kind of instinct on.
Yeah, that's why I started to begin with. Like, I just think that followers are currency, and like with the way the MMA scene is going, you need to have some sort of following behind you in order to sell tickets, get on shows and just get money. Like, there's fighters that are super talented and they may not have the social media presence and they're not, and they could be in the UFC and they're not getting paid half as much as someone who could be worse than them, but like, have get loads of views and sell loads of tickets. So Like that's it. Like you see how much Connor's made, and he obviously wasn't super on the social media, but he was like a presence, and he was able to draw people in. So that's something that like when I started doing the social media at the start of this year, like I wanted to have a following behind me before I even go pro, so that when I go pro, I already have like a hype behind me and people who know who I am. That it kind of gives you that extra boost.
I mean, I think if you carry on doing like what you did with the IMMAF championships, then you're gonna absolutely fly. Did you see a lot in that time span? Because obviously I picked it up just before you went there.
Like a lot of like kind of growth in my page and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like I think the my finals video has like 500,000 views or something crazy, and like a couple of them have like almost 500,000 views, a couple 100,000 views. So it's like I think my followers I've gained about 3,000 followers I think from it. So I definitely see it going up, and like every couple of days I'm going up 100 followers, 100 followers. So I'm just gonna try to keep riding off the high of that and keep producing content, and hopefully, keep climbing up in the kind of social media ranks.
I think you're absolutely nailing it. Um, I'm gonna we'll wrap it up. If you've got anything to say to anyone that might be watching, this is your chance. I appreciate your patience with me at the start as well, because
No
we had some
worries.
minor technical difficulties, and
That
you've been really really
happens.
good.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's supporting me. Like, it seriously fills my heart with joy every single day, just seeing the messages that people send me, and just keep supporting me because it's only the beginning, and I'm hopefully going to go very far in this sport. So just thank you everyone for hopping on board, and hopefully you stay on the Amy train.
Cool. We'll hit.